Hello, my name is MichelLee and I'm a curator for the China, Korea, and Sven Hedin collections at the National Museums of World Culture in Sweden. Today we are in the sculpture hall at the Museum of Far Eastern Antiquities in Stockholm. The sculpture hall is one of the only places in Scandinavia where you can get an overview about some of the religions that originated in Asia. So today I will give you a very brief introduction to the three sculptures that you see behind me. Now, these three sculptures were collected by Sven Hedin in 1930. According to Sven Hedin's diaries, he first saw these sculptures in an abandoned temple in 1929 in a place called SVE in Inner Mongolia. And again, according to his diary, he passed by the temple again in 1930, at which point he arranged to purchase these sculptures. Now, he says that when he visited, again, the temple was much abandoned. He says that there was a demographic change at this time. A lot of the Mongolians that would have used the temple started to move out of the area, and Han Chinese started to move into this place. So that could be one reason for why this temple became disused eventually. They were exported out of China with the permission of Chinese authorities, and that is how they arrived in Sweden. Now, Sven Hedin also collected some other sculptures from this group that are still held at the Museum of Ethnography today. And actually, these three sculptures originally were moved to the Museum of Far Eastern Antiquities from the Museum of Ethnography. Now, several years ago when we redisplayed the sculpture hall, we wanted some sculptures to be able to talk about Vajrayana Buddhism, which these sculptures represent. And we found these at the Museum of Ethnography, but they were not displayed together. Two of them were displayed in separate exhibitions, and the third was in storage. And when we did more research about these sculptures, we realized that they were meant to be a group called Rigsum Gompo. And that's why they have moved to the Museum of Far Eastern Antiquities as a group. Now, Rigsum Gompo is a very important concept in Vajrayana Buddhism because they show the three main aspects that's needed when practicing the religion. Vajrayana Buddhism is also called esoteric Buddhism, and in the West, it's probably most popularly known as Tibetan Buddhism. But it's not only practiced in Tibet, it's also practiced traditionally in places such as Nepal, Bhutan, China, Mongolia, and today it's practiced around the world. One of the main aspects of Vajrayana Buddhism is that there's an emphasis on oral tradition, on the oral transmission from the teacher to the student. And that's what makes Vajrayana Buddhism special out of the three main schools of Buddhism, the others being Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. So these three sculptures represent bodhisattvas. Now, what are bodhisattvas? According to Buddhist belief, Buddhas represent enlightened beings. And enlightened beings have the opportunity to move on to a state called nirvana. Now, nirvana is the ultimate state that Buddhists want to attain. But bodhisattvas are enlightened beings that choose to be reborn into this world in order to help others attain enlightenment so that they can also go into the state of nirvana. So again, these three sculptures represent bodhisattvas. The first bodhisattva I will talk about is on my far right, and he represents Manjushri. Now, when I name the bodhisattvas, I will use the Sanskrit name. They also have local names, Tibetan names, Chinese names, Mongolian names, but again, I will be using the Sanskrit name. So Manjushri is the bodhisattva of wisdom. So there are a lot of scholars who are Buddhists that will pray to Manjushri as their patron saint because, again, he's the Bodhisattva of wisdom. But you can see one of his attributes is a flaming sword. And this flaming sword represents the ability for Manjushri to cut through ignorance so that people can attain knowledge, wisdom. The second sculpture I will talk about is in the center, and this deity represents Avalokiteshvara, which is the Bodhisattva of compassion. Now, immediately you see that Avalokiteshvara has 4 arms, and these arms represent joy, a calm mind, love, and compassion, of course. Now, Avalokiteshvara perhaps is more popularly known with its Chinese name, Guanyin. Again, another name for the Bodhisattva of compassion. And the Dalai Lamas are believed to be the manifestations, the incarnations of this particular Bodhisattva. Now, you can see that on the very top of Avalokiteshvara's head is the head of a Buddha. Now, this Buddha represents Amitabha because it's believed that Avalokiteshvara emanated from a beam of light from Amitabha's left eye. So that's why there's the association between Avalokiteshvara and Amitabha. The third Bodhisattva we will see here is Vajrapani. Now, perhaps the most obvious attribute of Vajrapani compared to the other 2 Bodhisattvas is his fierceness. Some people might even say he looks scary. Now, although he has a very scary appearance, he's actually here to help people and to help practitioners of Buddhism. One of the roles that he has within the religion is that he is a guardian of the religion, a guardian of the secrets. Remember, Vajrayana Buddhism, there's a heavy emphasis on the oral transmission from the teacher to the student. And Vajrapani guards these secrets that are supposed to be transmitted from teacher to student. So that's one of the reasons he has this very fierce appearance. You also see that in his right hand he holds an implement. Now, this is symbolic of a Vajra. The same Vajra that's in his name, Vajrapani, the Vajra holder, and also the same Vajra as Vajrayana Buddhism, or again, the thunderbolt. Now, practitioners of Vajrayana believe that this school of Buddhism is the fastest way to attain enlightenment, and also, it has the power like a lightning bolt. So this is the attribute that you see Vajrapani holding. Now, to talk a little bit about the construction methods of these 3 sculptures. First of all, they were probably made in the early 18th century or the early 1700s, possibly in a place in Inner Mongolia called Chahar. But they have a beaten copper base, so they were made in pieces and then assembled together. And they also have quite a special 2 different types of gilding associated with these sculptures. There's one type of gilding that looks much warmer, and you can see this on the face and the arms, the skin areas of the bodhisattvas. This was accomplished through lacquering. Underneath the gilding, you see a layer of lacquer, and then the gold color, which is actually made from gold, was brushed on top of the lacquer base and also with lacquer as a binder, so it gives it a much warmer appearance. The other sections of the statue, the lotus base, the headdresses of these bodhisattvas, was accomplished by mercury gilding. In mercury gilding, you mix mercury with gold and you get almost like a liquid gold that can be brushed onto the copper base. Once the mercury gilding is put through heating, the mercury evaporates and it leaves the gold behind, and it gives a much brighter sheen to the gilding. So you have two different types of gilding represented in these sculptures. Another aspect of these sculptures I find very interesting are the gemstones that you find on the jewelry of the bodhisattvas. You see lapis lazuli, this blue stone that probably originates in Afghanistan. You see turquoise that probably came from Tibet. You also see rock crystal that could have come from Persia or China, and the coral may have even come as far away as Italy through trade. So the materials of these sculptures also is testimony to the different trade routes that was available to the peoples and how the trade routes linked certain regions to the rest of the world. So this is just a very brief introduction to these sculptures. These are the largest and finest Mongolian sculptures I have personally seen, and they could very well be the largest Mongolian sculptures in the West. I hope everybody will have the opportunity to come to the Museum of Far Eastern Antiquities to experience these sculptures in person. Thank you for attending the tour today, and I hope to see everybody soon. Thank you very much.